The air was thick with tension as the group of co-workers huddled together in the conference room, trying to come up with a plan. They had been working late on a project, and had all stayed behind to meet a deadline. Now, hours later, they were still in the office, and something was very wrong. It had started with strange noises coming from the corridors and empty offices. At first, they had dismissed it as their imaginations, but as the noises grew louder and more persistent, it became clear that they were not alone. "We need to call for help," said Maria, her voice shaking. "We can't stay here." But when they tried to use their phones, they discovered that the signal was blocked. They were completely cut off from the outside world. "We have to find a way out," said Jake, the team leader. "There has to be a way to get to the ground floor and out of the building." They made their way to the stairwell, but as they descended, they heard a noise behind them. It sounded like footsteps, but when they turned to look, there was nothing there. "We're not alone in here," whispered Lucy, her eyes wide with fear. They quickened their pace, taking the stairs 2 at a time. They were almost at the ground floor when they heard a loud crash from above. Something was coming down the stairs after them. They burst through the door to the lobby, panting and sweating. But as they reached for the handle to the main doors, they realized that they were locked. "We're trapped," gasped Maria. They turned to look for another way out, but it was too late. Something was standing in the center of the lobby, watching them with glowing eyes. It was not human. It was something else, something ancient and malevolent. And it was coming for them. They ran, their footsteps echoing through the empty office building as they searched for a way out. But no matter where they turned, the creature was always there, always one step behind them. As the night wore on, they began to realize that they were not just being hunted. They were being toyed with, like mice in a cage. The creature seemed to be enjoying their terror, relishing their despair. One by one, it began to pick them off. They fought back, using whatever they could find as weapons, but it was no use. The creature was too strong, too fast. In the end, only Jake and Maria were left. They huddled together in a supply closet, listening to the creature pacing outside the door. "We have to do something," whispered Maria. "We can't just wait here to die." Jake nodded, his mind racing. He had an idea, but it was risky. "I'm going to try to distract it," he said. "You run for the main doors. Maybe you can find a way to open them." Maria nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Be careful," she said. Jake took a deep breath and stepped out of the closet. The creature turned to face him, its eyes narrowing. "Come on," Jake shouted, waving his arms. "Come and get me." The creature hesitated for a moment, then lunged forward. Jake dodged to the side, and as it passed him, he grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall. "Run, Maria," he shouted. Maria burst out of the closet and sprinted for the main doors. She could hear Jake's grunts. As the creature chased after Jake, Maria reached the main doors and frantically searched for a way to open them. She tried the handle, but it was locked. She looked around for a key, but there was none in sight. Just as she was about to give up hope, she spotted a security keypad on the wall. She had seen the security guard use it before, but she had no idea how to unlock the doors. She fumbled with the keypad, trying different combinations of numbers. Her hands were shaking so hard that she could barely see the buttons. Just as the creature was about to catch Jake, Maria heard a faint beep. The lock on the doors clicked, and they swung open. "Jake, come on," she shouted. Jake turned and ran towards the doors, the creature hot on his heels. They burst through the doors and out into the night, not stopping until they were blocks away from the office building. They collapsed onto the sidewalk, panting and shaking. They had made it out alive, but they knew that they had narrowly escaped a terrible fate. "What was that thing?" asked Maria, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake shook his head. "I don't know," he said. "But I think we should call the police." "There's no way we're going back to that office building." They called the police and told them what had happened, but when the officers arrived at the office building, they found it empty and quiet. There was no sign of the creature or any of the other coworkers. Jake and Maria were never able to explain what had happened that night. They moved on with their lives, but they never forgot the terror they had experienced in that office building. And they never went back. The end. Like and subscribe.